Good morning, YouTube. I don't know if this is going to work out correctly. Worrying if this is one of my most flattering angles or not, but I was driving into work and I just was thinking about something and I began to write it down, but I figured that was more dangerous than actually cutting on the camera and going for it and trying to record it. So I'm going to try this and see if this works. If it is, maybe it's something that I'll do, because I do have a lot on my head in the morning, or mind in the morning. Hopefully you can hear me. So I was driving into work, and what popped in my head was, without being stereotypical, because you can have a conversation with yourself that you probably can't have with the masses, because you can adjust and make the determination on what it is you're talking about. But basically what the conversation was about was, or just not even a conversation, because I'm not crazy, I was just thinking out loud, is that in, let's just say, in a black home, some black homes, African American homes, colored homes, growing up, the term, a little more won't hurt you, is kind of like universal, and it kind of like goes across the board. In some homes that term was used at meal times or with food. I don't know why. I think it's something that's ingrained in the older generations, that just a little more ain't hurt you. How can a little bit more food be hurtful? How can one more piece of cake be hurtful? How can one more piece of pie be hurtful? So we grew up thinking that just a little more ain't gonna hurt me, and it seems so innocent that it's nothing that we even try to fix. We just go with it. So I went with it. Then when you talk about debt, it's one more charge ain't gonna hurt you. Just it's not gonna hurt you. It's not gonna hurt you. Just that mentality of it's not gonna hurt you desensitizes you to being innately aware of what's going on around you, because you're thinking that I have room for just one more offense, or just one more incident, or just one more piece of cake. And in reality, sometimes you don't. Every moment, every slice of cake, every charge, every incident, every conversation, every word means something. Every word has its significance, and I had to beat back that falsehood in my mind, thinking that just one more is not gonna hurt me. And I went through a phase where, a person who struggles with weight, where I wanted to blame people, like, why nobody told me I was fat? Why didn't anybody say you are fat? Everybody told me, my grandma, there's people bigger. You ain't the biggest I've seen. You ain't the blackest I've seen. And I guess that was supposed to be comforting. In some way, I guess it was comforting. But in reality, another person's, I guess, if you see them as shortcomings, should not make you feel better. You should not look across the street and say, well, they poorer than me. If you're uncomfortable with the level of your poorness, then you should do something about it. The same thing for weight. If you feel uncomfortable at the weight that you are, don't look across the street and see the 900-pound guy and say, well, he's fatter, so I'm all right. And that's essentially what they were trying to make me do. And I guess it was from lack of knowledge and knowing how to comfort somebody who could possibly be feeling some type of way about their physical appearance. But I say all that to say is that I had the hardest time coming out of just believing that everything was okay, and realizing that some things do really take an effort to overcome. You really do have to put in the work to come up out of certain things, and being healthy and being in shape is one of them. I can't eat the pizza. So I have this patch to remind me and other people, I like that patch, and it reminds me, don't eat no damn pizza. It's a joke for me that keeps me on track. I'm whimsical in that way anyway. I could wear a slice of pizza on my shirt, and it's not a big deal. But it is definitely a visual reminder that you better not eat that pizza, because you will set yourself back. And in the past, it was so simple for me to just say, oh, just one more piece of cake, or one more slice of pizza, and now I have to be so poignant about what I do. I can't just do anything. I have to really strategically do everything, because it all adds up to a bigger picture, And the same thing with finance, You watch, this was just in my life. This is just in my family. You'll watch a person make shit happen, and you really don't ask questions on how it happened, And we lived in a generation where charge it, swipe it. Everybody got a Sears credit card. You just go, you just swipe, you just pay on it, finance it, And the system preyed on people like that didn't really necessarily have the money to make a purchase, And back in the day, financing was different. You probably could in 6 months pay on something and it became yours. But now financing is set up so that you're in debt for the rest of your life. It's a hole that if you can avoid, do it. If you need to get a milk crate and a pillow from the thrift store and tape it together and make yourself an ottoman, do it. Don't rob Peter to pay Paul, because you mind robbing Peter and robbing Paul too to pay Sue. It's a different world we live in, and again, breaking out of that mentality of thinking that more is better. And I don't know what kind of economics these were, but if you have 50, or if you have 100 and you borrow 50, now you got 150, when in reality you only have 50, because if you never paid back the 50 that you borrowed, you only got 50, and not thinking that borrowing was just an extra pot of money, when in reality it's not. You borrow, you got to give that back, and again, these are just things I personally had to overcome. I was taught a lot of values and other things like that, but there was some areas that I guess could have used a little bit more emphasis, because it took me a little bit of stumbling to get to a point where I understood a little bit better. Finances aren't that messed up for me, but it was definitely a deeper understanding of money and how it worked and stuff like that. But the weight thing was, being a big guy, it's encouraged in some environments. Yeah, the bigger the better. Big old strong back, which is true. I love being a big guy, but there's different forms of big. There's big that doesn't cause you to die quicker, and then there's big where you walk around with high blood pressure and a ticking time bomb, and nobody cares about that, because just one more piece of pie ain't gonna hurt you, And I'm not gonna keep preaching about any of it. I just wanted to share my morning revelation that, we as people have to fight against some things that we were raised with. It's like your constitution, it's the foundation that you stand on, and sometimes it's not as correct as you were made to believe that it was, and it's nobody's fault, nobody's wrong. It's just that if there's room for adjustment, make the adjustment. That you can't get no quicker to the solution if you don't make the adjustment. You have to admit that there are some things that need to be improved on and make the improvements. Sometimes we get so hung up on, no, it's been this way. This is just how we do it. That, you push the outcome, the better outcome, just further and further and further down the road, because we have to get over that personal stuff, those personal hurdles. When you got to put personal aside and look at the facts, and the world will be such a better place if we just looked at the facts and get the personal out the way. But it all starts individually with each person. Each person has to put in their own work so that the bigger picture is much better. Be the change that you want to see. I can't require my neighbor to be a better human being than I'm willing to be myself. And me being that better human is would be a visual example for other people, inspiration for other people. So I say all that to say, peace and blessings, and have an inspirational morning. Talk to yourself. As long as you don't answer yourself back, you be all right. Nobody is gonna come and put you in a straitjacket. It's okay to go in and dig deep and ask those questions. So again, peace and blessings. Don't do what I'm doing. Driving and vlogging and talking is not the smartest thing, but sometimes you do it. You get it in when you can. Talk to you all later. Bye.